Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Yes, good afternoon, everyone. So, the strength is 55. So, I request another 10 people. 66 is the class strength, right? Okay. So, to attend regularly, we are taking, if you are checking with my screen, okay. So, I'll be getting all the details of the attendance, okay. So, we will be considering all that for the first internals or whatever in the later cases also. So, we'll be marking all that attendance information, okay. So, in the attendance register. So I request all of you to attend the classes regularly of all the subjects I'm telling. Okay. So now coming to the subject. Okay. So we were completed our discussion with the power diodes and in the previous class. Okay, so we discussed completely with the SCR. Okay, so the first power devices we discussed is with respect to the power diodes. Okay, so we know, okay, so how it is different from normal conventional diode. Okay, so in the normal conventional diode, the knee voltage, okay, so will be zero point 0.6 to zero point 0.7. So if it is a silicon diode, if it is a germanium, it is zero point 0.3 volts. Okay, so, but in the power diodes, we will be having a new volt around 1 volts. Okay, so that is the basic difference. We are having three different types of power diodes: general purpose, fast recovery, Schottky diodes. So these are all the depending on the reverse recovery time. We have divided all these things. Okay, so we will identify power diode similar to the conventional diode, but the doping structure will be different with respect to the conventional diode. So we discussed all such things. Okay, so this is the VI characteristics what we have got for the power diode and some applications. Then we started our discussion with the SCR. Okay, so silicon controlled rectifier. It is also called thyristor. Okay, so basically, it is also used for the rectification purpose, regulation of the power supply, immersion like that. Okay. So it is same like the diode, how it conducts. It is a unidirectional device. Okay. So I just gave exact information related to the SCR in the previous class. Okay. Suppose I want to have my knee voltage. Okay. So I'm using silicon type okay SCR I am using. So we know, okay, so when it is, that's like a diode. I'm telling here, okay, so it is like a diode. So we know that, okay, so knee voltage will appear at zero point 0.7 volts. Okay, so I don't have any control over my diode there. Okay, so when I apply some voltage, okay, so it will give the knee voltage. When I give my input voltage, so it will be there, some knee voltage will be present. Okay, that will be at a zero point 0.7 only. I'm not having any control over there, right? Okay, so it is called as an uncontrolled device. But in the case of SCR, we are having another terminal called gate. Okay, so with the help of gate, I can apply some input to that gate. So as a result of that, I can control the device. Control the device means we know for the diode it is zero point 0.7 volts on linear voltage. Suppose I want, okay, at zero point 0.2 volts, I want my knee voltage at 0.2 volts only, or at zero point 0.4 volts only. Okay, so that is controlled with the help of the gate terminal present in the SCR. Okay, so that is what we had discussed in the previous class. Okay, so SCR is having a three terminal device: anode, cathode, and gate. Gate is acting, okay, so like a control terminal. Okay, so if I want my knee voltage at the zero point 0.4 volts, by giving proper voltage at the gate terminal, we can control that. Okay, so we can have that characteristics. Okay, so at the zero point 0.4 knee voltage I can get. Okay, so we are having the structure will be like this. Okay, so we'll be having four layers. PN will be there, three junctions will be there, J1, J2, J3. Okay, so when it is forward bias, when the device is forward bias, J1 and J3 will be forward bias junction, and J2 will be reverse bias junction. Okay, so the symbol of SCR you can see. Okay, so anode, cathode, and gate terminal will be there. Gate will be represented um, between the junction J2 and J3. Okay, so we'll be representing the terminal. J will be present. I mean G gate terminal will be present. Okay, so this is the internal structure of the SCR. Okay, so SCR will be having, okay, so three modes of working: forward blocking, forward conduction, and reverse blocking. Okay, with the help of the characteristic curve. Okay, so I just explained in the previous class what exactly the forward blocking, what is reverse blocking, what is forward conduction. Okay, so in the two ways we can enter into the conduction mode when it happens with the breakdown voltage. So when the input voltage is greater than breakdown voltage, or when we are applying gate input. Okay, so gate input I'm talking, which can be pulse, if I'm giving in terms of voltage, or if I'm giving in terms of current. Okay, the more you give the gate input, early we will be having a conduction mode. Okay, so that is what we have discussed in the previous session. Okay, so three blocking modes for three modes of working: forward blocking mode, forward conduction mode, and then reverse blocking mode. Okay, so we need to understand over here in the forward conduction mode, two terms we need to have: latching current and holding current. Okay, so that is the two important important point we are supposed to give. Okay, so when the current at which the current turns into the conduction mode from the blocking mode. Okay, so it will be initially, it will be in the blocking mode, and it enters, ACR enters into the conduction mode. That current we are calling it as a latching current. Okay, so, and suppose holding current is, okay, so it will be reaching its maximum level, and it will returns back to the holding state. Okay, so returns back to the blocking state. Okay, so that we are calling it as a holding current. Okay, so the two important currents we are supposed to understand over here with respect to the characteristic curve. Okay, so this is very important, explaining all the three modes of SCR working. Okay, so it's very important. Okay, so then reverse blocking current. Okay, so we know that. Okay, so in the reverse, see, SCR, it is similar to the diode only, but it is having some control terminal called gate. Okay, so I can, with the help of that, the operating regions, okay, so will be varied. Suppose if I am having a reverse blocking mode, okay, so during that time we are having three junctions. J2 will be forward biased, J1 and J3 will be reverse biased, and it acts as a open switch. We know that. Okay, so even the diode is will be in the whenever it is in a reverse bias mode, it acts like a open switch. Similar to here also. Okay, so we'll be having some small leakage current will be there. Okay, so but it offers high resistance. All that things we know. Okay, so that remains the same. So next, I'll just come with the next device, power BJT. Okay, so we have idea related to the BJT. Okay, so BJT is a three-terminal device which will have of two types, NPN and PNP type. We are having. Okay, so suppose I want my BJT as a power device. So if that is the case means, okay, so the need for a large blocking voltage in the off state. Okay, so we know that. Okay, so diode can transistor can operate in three modes. Okay, so cutoff mode, active mode, saturation mode. Okay, so cutoff mode means, okay, so transistor will be in a off condition. Okay, so and both the junctions will be two junctions we are having, NP and PNP, two junctions we are having, right? Okay, so both the junctions will be reverse biased in the cutoff region. So then we are having a saturation region, right? Okay, so there both the junctions will be forward biased, both will be forward biased. Okay, so in the active region, okay, so we'll be having one will be forward biased, one junction, another junction will be reverse bias. Okay, so I guess you know all these basic things related to the BJTs. Okay, so BJTs can be used as a switch or as an amplifier, right? Okay, so any the transistor can be used as a switch or an amplifier. Okay, when it comes with respect to the power electronics, okay, so almost in all the cases we'll be using BJT as a switch. Okay, so we'll not be using as an amplifier, we'll be using as a switch in many. I am talking with respect to the applications. Okay, so applications of BJT, power BJT will be, okay, so switch in the power electronics subject. Okay, so we'll not be using in terms of an amplifier. Okay, so the need for a large blocking voltage in the off state and a high current carrying capability in the on state means that a power BJT must have substantially different structure than its small signal equivalent. Okay, so whatever we are understanding from the power diode, SCR or BJT, in all that cases, okay, so you can understand over there. Okay, so the structure is different. Okay, so where the terminals, the identification of that, working of that, all will be of same. Okay, so but what exactly the structure, internal structure, the doping structure is different. Hence, okay, so it will handle large power capability. It can have, okay, it can handle high currents as well. Okay, so here also the same thing. Okay, so if I come with the structure of the BJT, so it should, okay, so block the large voltages in the off state. Okay, large leakage voltages. Okay, so in the off state, and high current it should handle whenever it is in the on condition. Okay, so BJT is in the on condition, the structure will be different. The modified structure leads to the second point. The modified structure leads to significant difference in the IV characteristics, that is nothing but the VI characteristics what we tell, and the switching behavior between the power transistor and its logic level counterpart. Okay, so basically, okay, so basically we are okay, so concentrating here, so the structure, okay, so based on the structure, how it can handle the high current, how it can block the large voltage. Okay, so all that things we will be having. Okay, so next this is the BJT structure. ಎಷ್ಟೋ ತನಕ ಬರ್ತೀರಪ್ಪ ಕ್ಲಾಸಿಗೆ? See, I had sent to Hitesh at 12 o'clock only link I had sent. Darshan, what you were doing so far? So with okay, so power BJT structure. Okay, so again we are having a NPN and PNP type. So it will have collector, emitter, base, same information we are having. Okay, look at the doping structure over here. Okay, so the doping structure we are having. Okay, so N. Okay, so P N. Again, if you're looking at this properly, okay, so near the collector we are having a heavily doped N layer, then lightly doped N layer we are having. Okay, so again, emitter it is heavily doped N layer it is. Okay, and the P layer we are having, we know already. Okay, so in the doping structure with respect to the normal transistor. Okay, so the base is lightly doped. That is the reason you will be getting current there in terms of microampere. If you are, if you can remember, okay. So most of the currents will be flowing through the emitter to collector. Only few will be dropped near the base. Okay, so that is what we have learned, right? Okay, so similar to that here also. Okay, so we are having, okay, so lightly doped layer of the base, as well as, okay, so another layer, okay, so that is called as a collector drift region, which is lightly doped. So whatever you can understand over here with the power devices is the structure will be different. Okay, the structure will be the doping structure will be different in the cases of the power devices when you're comparing with the conventional devices. Okay, so these the things whatever we are seeing, okay, all these things are very important. Okay, so how we will be what will be the layer structure of the power BJT, all that things it is important. Okay, to form a three terminal device with the terminals named as emitter, base and collectors, thin P layer is sandwiched between two N layers as shown in the figure. That is what we have come across so far. Okay, so if I am considering NPN transistor, P layer will be very small. Okay, so that is the base terminal we are connecting. Okay, so you can observe over here, it is the representation, terminal representation is same, the working will be the same, but the doping structure will be different due to that. Okay, so which can handle more power. Okay, so what exactly we want in the power devices, we want to have, it should handle more power. Okay, so how that is happening with the help of the variation in the doping structure. Okay, so that is what we are seeing over here. The doping structure is different. Okay, so when I am compared with the normal conventional transistor or BJT, okay, so the doping structure is different. Okay, so in the power BJT, the following differences over conventional. BJT. Okay, so a power transistor is a vertically oriented four-layer structure of, okay, so alternating P type and N type. Okay, so if you can remember, okay, so the structure of the NPN transistor we represent in a different way. Okay, so but in power devices always vertical representation we are doing. Okay, so in some of the cases like normal transistor we represent that in a horizontal way and all. Okay, so vertical representation will do with respect to the power devices. Okay, so I have said this information in the previous class also. Vertical representation will do for all the power devices. Okay, similarly power transistor is a vertically oriented four layer, okay, so structure we are having. Okay, so why this means vertical structure, the doping structure of power transistor is vertical means, okay, so if I am doing like this, okay, so maximizing the cross sectional area results in current rating of BJT. Okay, so cross sectional area will be different. Okay, so if I am considering in the vertical orientation, hence, okay, so maximum vertical sections I'll be getting, hence I'll be getting current rating of the BJT and minimizes the on state resistance. Okay, so and this reduces the power loss. Okay, so what is our main intention with respect to the power electronics? We want to reduce the power loss whatever we were having to reach till the load. Okay, how we can reduce? So with the help of the solid state materials. Okay, so with the variation in the doping structure we can, okay, so have a good power handling capability. Okay, so this vertical orientation of the BJT can maximizes the current rating and minimizes the resistance, on state resistance. Thus we can, okay, reduce the power loss. That is the point over here. Okay, the doping of emitter layer and the collector layer is quite large, so we know that. Okay, so when we are having, okay, so base in between it which is lightly doped, okay, a special layer called the collector drift region has a light doped level. Okay, so if you are observing from the bottom, okay, according to BJT we are supposed to have NPN, only that much layer. Okay, so but with respect to the collector, if you are observing two N layers we are having. Okay, so where one of the layer it is called collector drift region, which is lightly doped it is. Okay, so which is lightly doped if you are observing over here. Okay, so both N plus region it is 10 to the power 19 it is. Okay, so if you are observing P type there 10 to the power 16 it is. Okay, so the doping concentration I'm telling. Okay, so collector drift region is 10 to the power 14. Okay, so if you are observing over here, okay, so very lightly doped N layer we will be having. Okay, so that is 10 to the power 14. It's the doping concentration. Okay, a special layer called the collector drift region has a lightly doped level. Okay, the thickness of the drift region determines the breakdown voltage of the transistor. Okay, so suppose, okay, so if I considered silicon transistor only, okay, so VBE voltage will be 0.7 volts. If you can recall the things properly, so we will be taking VBE is equal to 0.7 volts only, right? Okay, so if, we were saying like that. Okay, so if it is not mentioned in the question, you need to consider VBE is equal to 0.7 volts only for a silicon transistor, right? Okay, so that breakdown voltage, okay, so will vary. Okay, so depending on the concentration of this lightly doped N layer near the collector. Okay, so that is what the thickness of the drift region determines the breakdown voltage of the transistor. Okay, so the base thickness is made as small as possible in order to have good amplification capabilities. However, if the base thickness is small, the transistor small, the breakdown voltage capability of the transistor is compromised. Okay, so that is the point over here. Okay, this is the characteristic curve we will be having. Okay, so steady state characteristic we will be having. Okay, so if I am considering over here, okay, so we will be having a cutoff region, saturation region, active region. Okay, so in the saturation region we are just naming two different types of saturations we will be having: hard saturation, quasi saturations we are having. Okay, and this is the -1 divided by RD is the slope we are calculating. Okay, so we can calculate the resistance from the slope. Okay, so that is what. And then the breakdown. Okay, so we are keeping IB constant. Okay, we are varying VCE, we are note downing the value of IC. Okay, so we are taking the output characteristics. Okay, so if you can recall the output characteristic of the BJT, which will look like the same. Okay, I'll keep the IB constant there, we'll vary the VCE, and I'll note down the IB. Okay, so this is how we will be getting the characteristic curve. Okay, so basically that breakdown. Okay, so with respect to the transistor will be with the drift layer. So whatever we are having in the N layer of the collector. Okay, so the three regions of operation for a BJT can be recognized. Cutoff region, when the base current is zero, the collector current is insignificant and the transistor is driven into the cutoff region, the transistor is now in the off state. Okay, so the collector base and the base emitter junctions are reverse biased in the cutoff region or off state, and the transistor behave as a open switch. Okay, so we know, I hope you can understand, you can remember that in the cutoff region, both the two junctions we are having, both that will be in the reverse bias region. Okay, so as a result of that, it will be in a off state. Okay, so like it acts as a open switch. Okay, so whenever it is in the saturation region. Okay, so our I'll be talking with respect to the Q point. If you can understand the Q point, with based on that we have solved few problems, right? Okay, so there. Okay, so if transistor is in the saturation region, then both the junction will be in a forward bias junction. Okay, so as a result of that, it acts as a closed switch. If it is transistor is in the active region, it will be used in the amplifiers, right? Okay, so cutoff region, when the base current IB is zero, the collector current is insignificant and the collector is driven into the cutoff region. Okay, so say that both the junctions, okay, collector base and emitter base junctions will be the reverse bias here. Okay, and in this region IC equals 0 and the collector emitter voltage VC is equal to supply the voltage VCC. Okay, so how we will be marking? Okay, so suppose I want to draw DC load line on the output characteristic of the curve. What is required? I require 2 points to draw the DC load line at the x-axis as well as at the y-axis. At the x-axis, so IC will be 0. Okay, so and I will be having that VCE is equal to VCC. I'll get point A over here. Similarly, okay, so that is with respect to the x-axis, I'll get point A. Similarly, I will be having point B at the y-axis. In that case, voltage will be 0 and current will be there. Okay, so that is what it is mentioned over here. Okay, so if I am considering, okay, so in the near the cutoff region, IC is equal to 0 and the collector emitter voltage VCE is equal to the supply voltage VCC. So I'll be getting point A at the x-axis. Similarly, I'm supposed to get at the y-axis. Y-axis will have the saturation region. When the base current is sufficient to drive the transistor into saturation, during saturation, both the junctions are forward biased and the transistor acts like a closed switch. In the quasi saturation and the hard saturation, the base drive is applied and the transistor is set to be on. In this case, look at this, VC is equal to 0, IC is equal to VCC divided by RC. Okay. So we want to mark over here. Okay. So to draw the DC load line on the y-axis, I need a point B over here. So I have already got point A, which is nothing but VC is equal to VCC. Similarly, IC point I'm supposed to have. In that case, in to mark in the y-axis, x-axis will be 0, right? Okay, x-axis will be 0. So here IC is equal to VCC divided by RC. I'll get one more point, then I will be drawing that two lines, point A and point B. I'll join that. I am calling it as a DC load line. See, these are all the things. It is a very basic information you have learned in your first year. Okay, so the same thing over here also. Okay, so saturation region. So in the saturation region, IC is equal to VCC divided by RC, and VCE will be 0. Okay, so that is the saturation region. Next, active region. In the active region, the collector base junction is reverse bias and the base emitter junction is forward. Okay, so I have just now told that in the active region we'll be having one will be forward bias, one will be reverse bias. Okay, one of the junction will be reverse bias. Collector emitter junction is forward bias. Collector base junction will be reverse biased. Okay, the active region of the transistor is mainly used for amplifier applications and should be avoided for switching operations. Definitely. Okay, so we'll be not using active regions. Okay, so for a switching purpose. Okay, the power BJT is never operated in the active region. It is always operated between the cutoff and the saturation. The application of this power BJT will be using it as a switch, will never prefer. Okay, so to use as a amplifier. So that is the point over here, the last point. Okay, so advantages if I am using, power BJTs, which will have high switching frequencies since the turn on and off time is low. Then turn on losses of BJT are small. BJT has controlled turn on and turn off characteristics since base drive control is possible. BJT does not require commutation circuits. Commutation circuits means to turn on the device. Okay, in another circuit is not required over here. Okay, so the base terminal is acting as a current control device, we call, right? The base is acting over there to control the flow of the current. Okay, so demerits of BJT: drive circuit of BJT is complex. Okay, so another external driving circuits if required, then that is complex. It has the problem of charge storage, which limits on switching frequencies. It cannot be used in parallel operation due to problems of negative temperature coefficients. Okay, some of the disadvantages also we are having. Okay, so I'll just conclude this BJT, power BJT. So power BJT is similar to the normal conventional BJT. We are having a 3 terminals. Okay, so but the internal structure is different. Okay, so internal structure is different. So we'll be having collector and emitter N type is heavily doped, highly doped, and base region is lightly doped. So then we are having one more layer called collector drift region, which is very much lightly doped. Okay, so that works for to get a maximum current rating, which will minimizes the on-state resistance with the vertically oriented structure, and then which is having a 3 mode of regions. Okay, so that is your cutoff region, active region, saturation region. Power BJTs will use only 2 regions, that is cutoff region and saturation region. Power BJTs will not be used in the for the purpose of amplification. That is, it will never work with the active region. Okay, so that is what we had discussed. Depending on this, depending on the collector drift region, okay, so the breakdown will be controlled depending on the doping of the collector drift region. So that is the case with respect to the BJT. So next, I am coming with the power MOSFETs. Okay, MOSFETs and IGBTs we are having with a discussion. Okay, first I'll go with the power MOSFETs. MOSFETs, FETs. Okay, so it is a voltage controlled device. Okay, so voltage controlled device, gate voltage is used to control, act as a controller there. Okay, so if I am considering the transistor, it is a current control device, right? Okay, so where the terminal base will be controlling the flow of the current. So here the gate terminal will be controlling the device. Okay, so unlike the device discussed so far, a power MOSFET is a unipolar majority carrier, zero junction voltage controlled device. Okay, so unipolar majority carrier means we are having a two types, n channel or p channel we are having. Okay, so majority of charge carrier in the n channel will be electrons, in the p channel will be holes. Okay, so that is why it is called as a majority carrier. Okay, zero junction will not be there, and it is a voltage controlled device it is. Okay, so voltage controlled device. Okay, so if you can recall the structure of the MOSFET. Okay, so it will be very helpful for you. Okay, so we will be having a drain and source will be there, gate will be there. So when I'm applying gate voltage over here, okay, so the variation of the channel will be varied. Okay, so hence it will be, okay, so it will be uh, opposes the flow of the current from drain to source, the gate channel. Okay, so we'll be opposing the flow of the current from drain to the source. Okay, so here it is represented the n channel MOSFET and p channel MOSFET. Okay, so which will have four terminals actually. Okay, so but substrate will be always connected to the source, hence we are having a drain, gate, source, three terminal. It is as a representation we will have. Okay, so this is how we will be having the structure of the n channel enhancement type MOSFET. Okay, so if you can understand, we are having a two types of FETs: depletion MOSFET and enhancement MOSFET. Why it is called enhancement MOSFET? So we'll be not having a channel over there between the drain and the source, will not be having a channel. Okay, so but with the help of the gate terminal, we will be applying some input voltage to the gate terminal. As a result of that, channel will be enhanced. Okay, so that is the word we are calling it as a enhancement type. Okay, so we will be having a the connection will be, you can look at the right side of the circuit. Okay, so we are having a gate, drain, source. To the gate to source we will apply voltage, and drain to source we will apply voltage, and we will be load on the current ID over here all the time. Okay, so ID is the current we will note down. We will be getting a drain characteristics and transfer characteristics with respect to the MOSFET. Okay, a slab of p-type material is formed, and two n regions are formed in the substrate. Okay, so we will take first p-type slab we will take. Okay, so how n channel. Okay, so the structure will be there. Okay, so that we are having with the diagram over here. Okay, so we'll have a n type substrate we will be having. So then for that we will have a two n regions we will be having. Okay, so if you're looking at this properly, okay, so we are having that one is drain, another one is source. Okay, so with the metal contact we will be connecting that. Okay, so I'm having a p substrate as first slab. Okay, so the source and the drain terminals are connected through metallic points to the end of the regions. Okay, so this black mark you know already, I guess. Okay, so this representation, okay, So you have studied, I guess, VLSI subject. So there you will represent P-type material, N-type material, then SiO2, then metal, all that things, the representation. Okay. So this is the fully filled. Okay. So black is called as a metal contact. Okay. So but the absence of the channel between the doped n regions. Okay, so here the channel is absent over here. Okay, so when I'm applying gate voltage, so then the channel will be formed. Okay, so that is the reason we are calling it as a enhanced type. The SiO2 layer is still present. Okay, so like a conventional MOSFET to isolate the gate metallic platform. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay. So we'll be having a slab of p-type material is formed and two n regions are formed in the substrate. The source and the drain terminals are connected through the metallic contacts to n doped regions. Okay, so but the absence of the channel between the doped N regions. Okay, the SiO2 layer will be still present like the conventional MOSFET to isolate the gate metallic platform from the region between the drain and the source. But now it is separated by the section of P-type material. So now we are having, okay, so this is same what we are having with respect to the normal MOSFET. We'll be applying some voltage. Okay, so across the, if I'm taking a common source configuration, okay, we will be applying voltage between gate and source, and even the drain and source, and we will be marking, we will note down all the time ID. Suppose if I am giving VGS is equal to 0 volts, it is just like a transistor, it acts like a transistor. With the normal forward polarity of VDD on the MOSFET, both the VGS, but the VGS is equal to 0, the device like an NPN transistor with the drain to gate junction reverse bias, and therefore no drain current will be flowing. Okay, so if I am applying VGS is equal to 0, so there will be no flow of current. Okay, when I am applying VGS some positive voltage with respect to the source, positive charge accumulates at the gate metallic surface and electric field is created in the oxide layer, and negative charge accumulates at the P structure surface in contact with the oxide layer. This negative charge ripples holes in the P structure and leaves a virtual P-type channel through which electrons can flow from source to drain. That is conventional current flow from drain to source. So from the for the MOSFET to turn on, VGS must exceed the threshold voltage VT. Okay, so the working of this particular N channel enhancement MOSFET is similar to that of the conventional MOSFET. Okay, so when we are applying VGS is equal to 0 volts, we will be, it acts just like a transistor, NPN transistor. If I am applying some positive voltage to the gate terminal, so then only the virtual channel will be present. Okay, so near the gate terminal with the n channel will be created, hence the flow of electrons will be there from source to the drain. Okay, so that is what we are having over here. So this is again, okay, so characteristic curve. So we are having a transfer characteristic, drain characteristic we are having. Okay, so this is the drain characteristics. This is the first one is the transfer characteristics, and the drain characteristic is shown in the figure B. It is okay. So drain characteristics will keep VG VGS constant will vary VDS, will note down ID. Okay, so look at this. We'll keep VGS constant, will vary VDS. Okay, so we'll note down ID. So similarly, so with the transfer characteristics, we will keep VDS constant, we will vary VGS, we will note down ID. So if with the transfer characteristics, we'll keep VDS constant, okay, so we'll vary VGS, we'll note down the ID, okay. So we'll be having a transfer characteristics and the drain characteristics with respect to the MOSFETs, okay. So again, this is the load line, DC load line, how to draw the DC load line, okay. So this is the DC load line we can have, okay. So at x-axis ID is equal to 0 and VDD is equal to VDS, okay. So that is how we will be. So this is your DC load line, right? The straight line, what it is drawn on the output characteristic is called as the DC load line, okay. So at this point, okay, ID is 0. At the x-axis point, ID is 0 and VDS is equal to VDD, okay. So I'll get a point A. Similarly, okay, so I will be having, with respect to the y-axis, I'll be having voltage 0 and ID, I'm supposed to have ID is equal to VDD divided by R, okay. So how I am getting, with the help of the load line equation. What is load line equation? VDD is equal to ID into R plus VDS. This is the load line equation. With the help of this, I can get the 2 points of the load line, okay. So this is point A and this is point B, okay. So this point A is nothing but VDD is equal to VDS and point B is equal to ID is equal to VDD divided by R, okay. So this is the if the slope of the characteristic to the left of the interaction of the VGS curve with the load line, it is called as ohmic relation, is linearized than a much simpler solution is obtained. Okay. So this is just with respect to the ohmic regions, how we will be calculating. Okay, so this is explained, the dotted line, it is explained how to get the ohmic region over here. Okay, so this is with respect to the transfer characteristics and this is with the drain or output characteristics. Okay, so next we are having, okay, IGBT. Let me explain that IGBT in the next session. Okay, again, based on this, we are having few problems. Okay, so let me do at the end all that problems and all. I'll just first give the all theoretical contents. Okay, some of the problems we are having, so that I'll explain. I mean, we'll have that in at the end of this theoretical concepts. We'll do together all the problems.